Welcome. Let's start our class 7th NCERT Science, the second chapter, which is nutrition in animals. So we have nutrition animals. We learned about the teeth and some digestive organs in the part 1 video. We have the part 1 continuation at present. So first of all, for the tongue. So before entering into the tongue, we have the experiment here. So let's say for this experiment we need iodine solution, water and rice. So I have two test tubes here. So here I have the test tube A and the test tube B. We should take two test tubes. And for in test tube A, I added some boiled rice. So in test tube A, what I did is I added some boiled rice, as well as in the test tube B, I added the chewed rice. Okay. In test tube A, I added the boiled rice, and in test tube B, I took the boiled rice and I chewed for some time and I added in the test tube B. Now what happened here is, after adding in test tube A and in test tube B, now the second step is we should add the water in the test tube A as well as in the test tube B. And after some time we should add the iodine solution in both the test tubes. A few drops of iodine solution is needed in both the test tubes. After adding, keep the both test tubes few minutes aside, and after, when you observe the two test tubes, you will get to know about, you will see a change in both test tubes. In test tube A, you can find the color, you can find the blue-black color. So what happens here is the solution which is there, it turns into blue-black color. So this is the iodine solution. Let's write down here. Iodine, and this is chewed rice, and what is this, my dear friends? So I added boiled rice. Okay, after few minutes, when you observe in test tube A, you can see the blue-black color. So the color which is there, it changes into blue-black color. But in test tube B, when you look into it, you will not find any color changing of any color in the test tube B, because the reason is the saliva which is there. So the saliva breaks down the starch into the sugars. Okay, so let's learn this saliva. Okay, you have the saliva which comes out from your mouth. So this saliva which is there, it breaks down. It breaks the starch. It breaks down the starch into sugar. So this saliva which is there, it breaks down the starch into sugars. So thus, in the test tube B, you have only sugars, but the starch will not present in the test tube B. When you see in the test tube A, you have starch, but you don't have sugars. So thus you can see the color changing in the test tube A, but not in the test tube B. And now let's learn about the tongue. We know the tongue is the muscular organ. So it's a muscular organ, our tongue, and as well as this tongue can move in all directions. Okay, and in addition to, tongue helps us to speak. Okay, tongue helps us to make a great interaction between two persons. And after another one, which is tongue helps us to taste. So tongue has some taste buds. So this taste buds which are there, the tongue has some taste buds and helps to taste all the food items that we take in. Let's say I have the salt. So when I eat the salt, it is really sore, and it is really sore, so I can taste it as salt is sour. And when I eat sugar, sugar is very sweet. When I take a neem leaf, this neem leaf is really bitter. So how can I say all the tastes? Because of the presence of tongue in my mouth. So if you have tongue, we have some taste buds in it. So when you see in the front of our tongue, you have here at this region you have the sweet taste which presents, and the sides of the tongue you have the sour taste, and in the back fourth of the tongue you have the bitter taste which presents. So some tongue contains some taste buds as well as. So this tongue mixes the food. So when we take in the food, tongue helps to mix saliva along with the food. Okay. So these are some uses for the tongue. And now let's learn about the food pipe. Food pipe is also called as esophagus. Now this is the food pipe. So this food pipe runs along the chest and it connects to our stomach. So here you have the stomach. So this part is the stomach. So this is the food pipe. So this food pipe runs along the chest and it connects to the stomach. Now this food pipe which is there, it moves the food inside the food pipe, moves like wave-like structure it has. Okay. And now next you also have sometimes the food pipe. This food pipe which is there, it helps to reach the food to the stomach. Okay, the food pipe helps to reach the food to the stomach. Sometimes if the food is not accepted by the stomach, the food will be vomited out. And the next one is you have the stomach, about stomach. So this stomach is a J-shaped structure, you can say. So it is a J-shaped structure and it will be very widened part of our digestive system. So let me draw a figure of our stomach. So this stomach is a J-shaped structure. Okay, it has a this stomach mostly will be in J shape, and it is the widest. It will be in the widest part of the body. And now this stomach which is there, the walls of the stomach releases some fluids. So this stomach releases some fluids. So the fluids of like hydrochloric acid, HCl, hydrochloric acid, and this stomach also releases, it secretes mucus, and the stomach also secretes some juices to digest the food very easily. Okay, the bile juice, also all the bile juice which is there, the bile juice produced by the gallbladder, but the bile juice plays a very important role while digesting the fats. So the bile helps to digest the fats which are present inside your body. Now as we come to the stomach, so this stomach helps to digest, it secretes some fluids like hydrochloric acid, or else it helps to secrete some mucus, etc. And now it makes something, this stomach which is there, it makes one function to grind the food that we take in through the food pipe. So this food pipe connects to the stomach and it enters into our stomach, and you have some grinding happens in the stomach. And after this one, so but when we talk about the stomach, let's say how is this I wanted to tell you a story. In 1822, so the story is, in 1822, Alex Alex Saint Martin was badly hit by a bullet. So this bullet which is there, it passed through the stomach. Okay, so you have some hole was created inside the stomach. So think it's like a stomach. We have a stomach here. So this is the rough image of the stomach. So this Alex Saint Martin was hit by the bullet. Yeah, he was hit by the bullet, and what happened here is there was a hole created in the stomach, and he was taken to the hospital. But in the hospital, the doctor somehow or the other he saved the life of the Alex Martin. But but the doctor who is there, Beaumont, his name is Beaumont. So this Beaumont, he is there, he is a doctor. So this Beaumont, he tried to put a bandage to cover the hole here. So he tried somehow or the other to cover the stomach, the hole created in the stomach. But he can't. But he took this hole as a great opportunity to look into it, and he tried to see the function which is happening in the stomach. So he saw, but he observed very clearly that he suddenly, he amazed, that he excited that the stomach which is there, it is grinding itself. Okay, the stomach, some fluids are coming out from the stomach, and it is the inside the stomach, the food is moving and it is making its grinding. So he was totally amazed that, oh, stomach can also grind its food, or a stomach has a capacity to digest the food. And he stated at that time, that the stomach can secrete some fluids, and the stomach has an opening that connects the small intestine, as well as the stomach is a J-shaped structure. It will be like this, he said, and this is how the stomach was created. So this is the accidental discovery actually. And the next one you have is the small intestine. So the small intestine is divided into three types. You have duodenum, jejunum and the ileum. So in the duodenum, jejunum and the ileum, but in the small intestine, coming to the small intestine, it is really thick and it is a highly coiled tube. Okay, so the small intestine might be 7.5 meters it has, and this small intestine, here you have, so this is the small intestine, this is the stomach, and this is the large intestine. So this is the small intestine. Okay, inside this small intestine you have the villi. So villi are the finger-like projections. You have like this villi. Okay, so these are the villi which are presented inside the small intestine. Those are finger-like projections which are presented in. So the singular plural is villi, but the singular is villus. Okay, V-I-L-L-U-S, villus. So this villi has the capacity to absorb the more surface of the food. So here what happens here is the digested food. So here the food gets digested, and here inside this one you have, beside the small intestine you have the tube-like structure which joins the small intestine, and the food totally enters into the small intestine. So inside the small intestine you have the villi-like structures. So this villi-like structures which are there, they helps to absorb the more surface of the food. So this villi-like structure, so this villi has some blood vessels in it. So this villi has more blood, it has blood vessels in it. It helps to absorb, just it takes the the carbohydrates, proteins, vitamins and the energy foods. It tries to absorb all the minerals which is there in the food which comes from the stomach. So it has the more surface to absorb. So villi has more capacity to absorb the digested food. And now after the absorption of the villi, you have the assimilation process. So what is this assimilation process? So this assimilation process is the absorbed food which is there. So this absorbed food which is there, okay, this absorbed food is transported all over through the body. So you have all the blood vessels gets the absorbed food. So the absorbed food which is there, it is transported. Okay, you have the transportation. Transported all over through the body. So that process, the transportation of all the food into the body parts is called as assimilation. So ASSMI. We have the assimilation process. Okay, and now let's go for the large intestine. So after the transportation of all the parts into the body, all the absorbed food into the body, at that time after transportation we get some energy. So the energy is released into the body. And now you have the large intestine. So the food which is there, this large intestine will be like this. Yeah, so this is the large intestine where you had here. So what happens here is the food which is there, it enters into the large intestine. So this blue colored one is the food. So this food which is there, it enters into the large intestine. And this food totally moves here from here to here. And what happens here is the undigested and the waste food which is there, it enters into the large intestine. So here the food is transported from here to here till here. And what happens here is the walls, okay, the walls of this large intestine, these walls which are there, they tries to absorb salt and water. So this large intestine absorbs, what does this large intestine absorb? Salt and water. It absorbs salts and water. And after transportation here to here, you have the rectum and the anus. You have the opening at last. So the food which is there, it goes, the food which is there, it leaves through the body. If you have the facial matter, or else the facial stage. So this food which is there, the facial matter, it leaves through the rectum and through the anus. You have the waste food which comes here. You have all the food which travels here, and the undigested food, or else the waste food which is there, it leaves the body through the rectum and through the anus at last. So the food which is leaving from the body is called as digestion. but the food that we are taking in is called as ingestion. So at last you have the digestion process where we happen. So you have the time to time the anus, you have the time to time the wastage from the body comes out. So this process is called as digestion. So this is about the digestive system. First it enters into the mouth and it mixes with the saliva. Okay, salivary glands which produces the saliva mixes with it and it enters into the neck. So the neck goes along and it connects to the stomach. So if you take the food, the salivary glands produce some saliva and it mixes with it, and you have the food pipe, and the food which is there, it goes along into it, and here you have the stomach. So after stomach, so this stomach which is there, it tries to digest, and here from the gallbladder, okay, you see here, beside the behind the liver you have the gallbladder. So this gallbladder which is there, this gallbladder tries to produce some bile juice. So this bile juice helps to digest the fats, and now this bile juice which is there tries to digest the fats, and this stomach produces some mucus, the fluids like mucus and hydrochloric acid. So the liver also produces juices. You have pancreas which produce the pancreatic juice, and now this stomach has an opening through the small intestine. The food passes through the small intestine. As the food passes, you have the absorption by the villi happens in the small intestine. So the villi helps to absorb the food, and after absorption it enters into the large intestine. So the large intestine tries to absorb the salts and water, and after it moves, and the waste food matter, the waste food material which is there, it comes out. So that the fecal matter is called as the so this process coming waste is called as the digestion process. So you have ingestion means taking in, digestion means letting the waste out. And now you have the rumination process. Take the rumen. Okay. So this rumen is nothing but when you observe the cows or else the buffaloes which are there, they use it to sleep, but they will chew the food while they are sitting. They sit like this without having any food around them on the surroundings. There will be no food on their surroundings, but they will sit and they will chew something. They will chew like this, but without having anything. You might think, what is there?